Alright, then let's just go ahead and check out this brand new machine that AYANEO has just launched. You're probably all very familiar with this particular design. The Fit machine sold incredibly well, but this one specifically is its Windows Handheld version, and it still maintains that incredibly clean, minimalist design. On the back, you'll find its specifications. The most eye-catching feature is definitely the HX470. As far as I know, this is actually the very first handheld console to come equipped with the HX470 CPU. So that's this particular machine right here. Its other specs are 32 gigabytes of RAM plus a 1 terabyte SSD. That's a very standard configuration. The color is Dragon Shadow Yellow. So let's go ahead and open it up, and then we can take a good look at it now. Actually, for me, this marks the second time I've unboxed this. You see, I had already recorded the initial unboxing, but due to an unexpected issue with the machine itself, I regrettably had to return it. Alright, let's go ahead and open it up to get a really good look inside, shall we? It seems this sleeve only comes in one shade, this particular silver one. I've actually forgotten the exact name for this type of silver. This packaging style is a bit like Corona. Corona uses a similar box. Well, everyone can clearly see here that this is actually a unit that features. This is what the main unit looks like. When I look at it this way, it truly bears a strong resemblance to that Android version of the machine that I previously unboxed. Next up, we'll be looking at some pretty conventional items. Then, in this next layer, we find the more conventional items, like for instance, this. It should definitely be a charging adapter, and by the looks of it, this one seems to be a powerful 100-watt charging adapter. There are also some patterns on it, like Pac-Man and Mario. The designs on it are pretty cool and quite reminiscent of classic games. Let's just take a look. Yes, indeed, it's definitely a 100-watt charger, just as expected. These should be all the miscellaneous accessories, I assume. It's so empty, this. This box is really empty. It genuinely feels like there's nothing at all inside. Hey, this here is a USB A to C adapter. Stick caps. And that's pretty much it. Speaking of this particular device, it appears to completely lack any USB A ports, featuring only USB-C, which frankly isn't ideal. Usually, GPD machines tend to retain at least one USB A port. There's also a charging cable, and it's a very thick one at that. So, if we were to compare it to the Android version of this device, you can clearly see that the size difference between these two machines is quite significant, not just a little bit. It's almost like one looks like the father and the other looks like his son. However, the fundamental exterior outline and even the positions of the buttons are nearly identical. Let's go ahead and weigh this device here. It weighs 741 grams. Actually, for a handheld gaming device of this considerable size, I think the weight is quite reasonable. The Android version is much lighter, at only 400 grams. So, yesterday, the particular device we had previously reviewed, this very machine, came in at 670 grams. I personally feel that for a device like this, the weight is quite comfortable and manageable for extended use. 700 grams is fine. After all, some of these Windows handhelds are already clocking in at a full kilogram, even up to 1,500 grams these days, so I genuinely believe this weight is quite acceptable to me. Now, let's bring out a heavyweight contender for comparison. Honestly, the sheer size of this machine is definitely not what I'd call small. Compared to the Win 5, it's not far behind. As you can observe, I'm setting this device directly over the Win 5. It can actually completely cover it, which clearly indicates that the device's volume is indeed not small at all. Of course, one could argue the Win 5 exhibits excellent control over its dimensions. Nevertheless, the Win 5's thickness remains considerably greater than this device's, a fact that simply cannot be debated. Let's examine the device itself. Its appearance should be quite familiar to everyone. Many of you have already purchased the Android version of the Fit, and this particular design is essentially just an enlarged iteration of the Fit's Android device. On the bottom of this device, there's a card slot, a 3.5mm headphone jack. Up top, there are two Type-C ports, volume up and down buttons, additional shoulder buttons, and the power button that has a fingerprint sensor. And on the back of the device, you'll also find two additional buttons. The controller, these linear triggers come with a trigger lock, and honestly, I find it incredibly difficult to operate. It just doesn't want to budge. You really have to dig your nail in deep to get it to slide. It's quite recessed. The grip of this controller, the way it feels, is incredibly comfortable. It's truly pleasant to hold. This machine also shares the same family-style appearance, making it instantly recognizable as part of the series. The integrated front glass also shares the family design, but I'm personally not really fond of this particular section. I recall that on the AYANEO 3, this piece could be swapped out as a standalone module. Of course, the other parts are pretty much cut from the same cloth, except the speakers are now in these two positions.
Should be around here.
The restaurant. Really popular. No, that's fine. Oh, not at all.
Did you hear Eric was promoted? That asshole? What the hell is managers thinking?
So, what happened with the missus? Oh man, she was pissed. She forgave me in the end.
Should be around here. Should be around here. So, yeah, where are we going to? Here, Eric was promoted. That asshole? What the hell are we thinking?
So, what happened with the missus? Oh man, she was pissed. She forgave me in the end.
Should be around here.
She forgave me in the end.
After testing, I found the 470 CPU can be boosted to around 50 watts with haptic assistance, but forcing it to full power causes CPU-GPU temperatures to soar past 90 degrees, leading to immediate throttling. Frame rates even below 8840U. Moreover, if you continuously use the officially limited 28-watt full power, the temperature can easily climb above 80 degrees Celsius. So I need to bring this up. Online, I found a Resident Evil 9 game test for the 470, showing frame rates. That test, it ran for a long time, consistently above 40 watts. Therefore, it's quite clear to everyone that they certainly weren't just testing this on a simple handheld device alone. It absolutely must have had large external cooling equipment connected to it for that very purpose. So you really need to be more discerning about these tests. The frame rates they get are not necessarily what you'll be able to achieve. To be honest, even I couldn't achieve those kinds of frame rates using my 470, even with all the tweaks and optimizations. Now the cooling on this machine, it definitely can't be compared to that. Compared to the cooler used in that test, it simply cannot effectively manage a sustained 40-watt usage. Even when operating at 28 watts, the CPU and GPU temperatures tend to get a little bit, well, quite hot. I mean, I think it's because this CPU, when its temperature hits around 87 degrees, it starts throttling. It's very close to that limit. What surprised me was the AX470's 15-watt performance is quite good. Now, concerning the device itself, there are a few aspects that I don't really care for. First off, these two Type-C ports are positioned way too close. If I insert a USB drive and then try to plug in something else, they end up obstructing each other. Look at this spot. If I plug anything else in, I won't be able to. If I plug in a USB and then try to plug in this adapter, it gets all messed up on my machine. Additionally, it doesn't have any Type A ports. GPD usually includes at least one Type A port, considering many devices still don't have Type C. I actually bought this card reader specifically for this very reason. And it only has two Type C ports, with none at all on the bottom. The previous AYANEO Play, the one they OEM'd. Hey, the new OEM machine has a port on the bottom. And another rather awkward thing to mention is this TF card slot. Everyone, look closely. With my pinky finger, it precisely rests there, and then it pops right open. It's not a deal breaker, but it feels like a poorly thought out design. I just rest my finger here and hey, it opens. Another thing I have to complain about is this carrying case. This carrying case is officially priced at over 200 yuan, but I put it on my nightstand and the odor was so strong it kept me awake all night, you know? The scent is just that intense. Also, it previously had a scented sachet inside, which clearly indicates that the company is well aware of this. Isn't that right? They know it smells bad, so they threw in a scented sachet. That's not right. For such a pricey console, this thing pre-ordered for 8,999 yuan. This included bag? Just spend a little more, right? It wouldn't cost that much. So overall this 470 CPU, how should I put it? It's a product of incremental improvements, and it runs pretty hot. Personally, if you're not in a hurry, I'd suggest waiting to see what Intel's new Panther Lake CPU has to offer. Well, that concludes today's testing and unboxing. Thank you all for tuning in. I truly hope it provided some valuable assistance.